This is the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. Here's Robert Kiyosaki.
Hello, host Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. And we have a very important and timely Rich Dad Radio Show today because it's on the future of entrepreneurship. Not the past, but the future. And the reason this is important is back in 1981, I'm a student of Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller, invented the geodesic dome, which was the world pavilion, the U.S. pavilion at the Expo 67 in Montreal, Canada. And Fuller was one of my poor dad's favorites, being an academic type. But I go into this audience in 1981. I'm sitting down there with all these guys who are hippies and commies and pinkos, and I'm a capitalist sitting in this audience. And Fuller says, his opening line, I still remember his opening line. You know, he was considered one of the greatest geniuses of our times. John Denver wrote songs about the guy. People praised the heck out of him. But he says, ladies and gentlemen, we are the news. And I didn't understand what he meant by that. He says, when you hear the news, it's the past. Anything in the news today is history. It's not new. He says you have to understand the difference between the past, news, and new. Because he was a futurist. So what's in the news today? I woke up this morning and all they're talking about is this coronavirus and, you know, what's going to happen to the economy and the millions of people who have lost their jobs. Millions. And that's not the news. That's old. So what Fuller was saying back in 81 to my class was that what you're listening to in the news today is the death of the old. It's over. So the reason this program is so important, it's really about the future of entrepreneurship. Now let me put it another way, just so you understand it. One of the most obsolete things you can have is an old idea in your head. So think about these words. Go to school and get a job. Why would you want a job today? Save money. Why would you save money when the government's printing trillions right now? You know, invest for the long term in a well-defined portfolios, well-diversified portfolios, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. Why would you do that? Yet people are still hanging on to those old ideas. One last point. So I was an entrepreneur, and in the 80s in the 70s, I had a company that started the nylon and Velcro surfer wallet business. And I became, you know, my products became sporting goods product of the year and all this stuff. And I made the Honolulu newspaper saying, Robert Kiyosaki is an entrepreneur. And my poor dad called up and he says, did you hear what the paper said about you? Did you read that? I said, what they say? He says, they called you an entrepreneur. Now, this is my father was head of education for the state of Hawaii, PhD. I said, what does entrepreneur mean to you, Dad? It means you're a crook. So today, when you think about it, you know, it says, and you take too much risk, you know, typical Japanese father. But think about it today. The riskiest thing you can be today is an employee. The smartest thing you can do is be an entrepreneur. The problem is our school system's still teaching people to be employees. And that's the biggest risk of all. Any comments, Kim?
Well, we've always said here at Rich Dad that the future is entrepreneurship. And if you want to really be financially responsible, then entrepreneurship's the way to go. And we see that as the solution. We've always seen it as a solution, but even more so today than ever, given this virus and given the shutdown that's happening all over the world. I think this is the time for entrepreneurship to really bloom even more so. And we've got the guy who's going to talk just about that.
This is like a 9/11 in Phoenix, Chicago, Los Angeles, Dallas, New York, Japan,
London,
Europe,
Rome.
London. This is like a 9/11 in every city, every town throughout the world. So this is bigger than 9/11. This is the change of an era. This is the change of an era. It is the end of the old and the beginning of the new. The problem is the people who are scared, you know what, are still hanging on to the old. So today is a very, very important program because you have two entrepreneurs. Well, actually three with Kim, but anyway.
Thank you.
But
I appreciate that.
but from Hawaii, there are three entrepreneurs that are really famous. One is Steve Case, founder of AOL, and the other one is Guy Kawasaki. And on the dark side is Robert Kiyosaki, because I've always criticized the academics for having their heads up their butts. Now, the other side of it, the reason this is really good, because Guy Kawasaki is the ray of sunshine, and Robert Kiyosaki is the dark side. So you'll get both points of view. So they're both valuable, because this is the worst of times if you're an employee looking for job security. But it's the best of the times if you're going to be an entrepreneur. So Guy Kawasaki is infamous for being part of Apple. In fact, he's more famous than Steve Jobs. He's more popular than Steve Jobs.
I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah. Hey, calm down, man. I'm giving you an outsider's point of view here. I mean, Guy was, Jobs' reputation was pretty nasty. He was kind of like me, kind of a rude guy. But Guy was always the ray of sunshine. He was positive. He was the brand leader.
They called him the chief evangelist.
The chief evangelist of Apple. And I'm on the dark side with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But they both have their points. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, get rid of the idea of being an employee. In the next show, we're going to have Tom Wheelwright coming on talking about how medical doctors have to fire themselves and their staff because of this coronavirus, because they're doing such non-essential surgeries such as boob jobs and facelifts. They have to get
That's another show.
They have to get rid of people.
That's another show.
So all these high-paid surgical nurses and all that, they're losing their jobs. They did the right thing. So what we're saying here, ladies and gentlemen, this is the news. What's in the news today is old. The fact that we have coronavirus and the whole economy is collapsing right now all over the world is old. I've been saying this for years. It's not been nice being Chicken Little. The sky is falling, the sky is falling. Well, the sky fell, so it's not the news. So today's program is very important. It's about why it's important to be the entrepreneur, but what is the future. So welcome to the program here. The reason I chose Guy is because he and I are kind of interchangeable. They say, are you Guy Are you Guy Kawasaki? I said, no. I'm much better looking. No. But they said, and then Guy gets called Kiyosaki. And we're both from Hawaii. Our fathers were friends. It's kind of interesting that we're on this program together. So Guy, welcome to the program.
Welcome.